This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. On the banks of the Mississippi, we are back home, and tonight it's a weekend series, and it kicks off against the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. And with Jim Hayes and Brad Thompson, welcome to Cardinals baseball. Brad, let's jump right into it. The Reds have a managerial change. Jim Riggleman is in. What does this do for Cincinnati?
Well, I'll tell you what, I know what the record looks like. That's why Brian Price was fired. But there is something that happens. There's a jump start. I don't know what it is exactly, but it fires it up. I was a part of a team that fired a manager in Kansas City, and for some reason, you kind of feel like you got the manager fired, and you try to do a little bit more. So the Cardinals cannot take this team lightly, even though they've got 3 wins under their belt.
It has been a while since we have seen Michael Wacha on the mound because of all the postponements, and Wacha has had very good success against Cincinnati.
Well, I'll tell you what, the right team to get back on the bump against. You see that 11 straight games with a team win against the Reds, and you hope to make it 12. We just talked about this team record. They are down. They might get a little boost from their manager. It's Michael Wacha's job to make sure he doesn't give them that boost.
The Cardinals are dominating the Cincinnati Reds. Here's a look at our BJC Healthcare difference maker. Going back to last season, the Cardinals have won 8 straight, scoring a bunch of runs, and obviously the pitching has been very, very good. It was just a recent 4-game sweep last week in Cincinnati. Michael Wacha, Brandon Finnegan, Reds Cardinals coming up. Steak and Shake. Mix and match any 2 items for just $3. Better burgers, better prices, Steak and Shake. By Missouri Baptist Medical Center. Doctors call it world-class medicine. You'll call it Mobap. And by National Car Rental. Go National. Go like a pro. Packed house tonight over at Ballpark Village and here at the ballpark. The Reds, their first visit to St. Louis. First pitch. Lineups are next. Stadium. And along with Brad Thompson and Jim Hayes, I'm Dan McLaughlin. A look at Michael Wacha. His last start was over a week ago in the opener of the just completed road trip. He went 5 innings. That was an eventual 13-4 win. What do you look for, Brad, as you get a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal when Michael Wacha is right?
Well, I'll tell you what, you could see it early with Michael Wacha. Look, you know his stuff is good enough when he's attacking the zone, but the big thing I like to see this year is that arsenal. You see the 4 pitches that he's comfortable with. The last couple of years, you thought of him as a fastball changeup guy, but that has evolved quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Jim Regelman, the interim manager now of the Cincinnati Reds, managed 4 teams over parts of 12 seasons. He's been with the Padres, the Cubs, Mariners, and Nationals. Little new wrinkle to their lineup with Billy Hamilton batting 9th. At the top, it's Jesse Winker, then Jose Peraza, and Joey Votto. Scooter Gennett will bat cleanup. Adam Duvall, the switch hitting Tucker Barnhart, Alex Blandino, Brandon Finnegan, the pitcher, batting 8th, and Billy Hamilton is batting 9th. And there's a look at Jesse Winker, who will bat leadoff. And by moving Hamilton down in the 9th spot, your former manager Tony La Russa would do this an awful lot. But the idea is if you can get more guys in front of the 3rd place hitter, which in this case is Joey Votto.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world that with Billy Hamilton, it's you know the speed that he possesses, you know what he can do when he can get on base, but he wasn't getting on base at the clip that they wanted to continue to throw him out there in the 1 hole. Look, when things aren't working for you as a team, you got to mix it up a little bit.
There's Mike Matheny, and the Cardinals just finished up a very good road trip. 1 loss, that was yesterday in the day game at Wrigley. First pitch to Winker. He is taken for a ball, and we are underway. Control a little bit of a concern here at the onset of this season for Michael Wacha. 1 ball and 1 strike. He has 10 walks in 14 2/3. couple of those starts coming on very cold days.
Yeah, you've got to hope that that is part of it. We've seen Michael Wacha at his best over the years, and he does fill up the strike zone. He does get ahead a lot, and it's going to be important today.
And there's 2 strikes, and he's also working extra days rest after 6 or more days rest in his career. Good numbers, 7-3, 3.34 ERAs. He comes back usually very strong. And sometimes that can be good, sometimes bad.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for me, it was always difficult to have that much rest. It's easy to say, yes, you feel fine, you are fresh, but you're not as fine-tuned as you normally are. So that's when your side sessions, that's when your days, out in the bullpen are just playing catch. Like, you have to have conviction with what you're doing to make sure you're ready for this day.
And the 2-2 is ripped in the gap in left center. Over to cut it off, Tommy Pham. Winker thought about heading to second. Nice play by Pham to hold him to a single. Arkia drive to success. Michael Wacha, very good numbers against the Cincinnati Reds, a record of 9-1. That's 15 career starts. 12 of the 15 have resulted in Cardinal wins.
Got to remember this about the Reds too. I know the pitching over the last couple of years, and it's been an issue this year for the Reds, has not been great, but their lineups have been good. They've been able to score a lot of runs. To put up those kind of numbers is pretty impressive by Michael Wacha.
Here's Jose Peraza. Came over in a deal that included Scott Schebler. He's been dealing with right ulnar nerve irritation and just came off the DL today, so he is on the bench and available. Cody Reed was sent down by the Reds. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Nice to be back home. Big crowd. And nice to have a little warm weather too.
I was going to ask, what was that stuff that was out today? It was bright. I don't realize.
It's called the sun.
Sunshine. That's what it was. Yes, that was very nice to have today.
It was cold in Chicago. And also that final day in Cincinnati. 2 balls and 1 strike. I think one thing you find out with all these postponements and cancellations is your depth in your organization. Double headers, a lot of games packed in minimal time, and minor leaguers will be called up. There's the changeup, and it's now 2-2.
That's one thing. You don't want to have to go to the well all of the time, but if you're Mike Matheny right now and you call down to Memphis, call down to Stubby Clapp, Stubby's got about everything that you could possibly want. We got a chance to see that in spring training. The depth that this organization has, specifically at the higher levels of the minor leagues, man, there is something for every need that you could possibly have.
2-2 the count.
Jesse Winker may not be Billy Hamilton over there at first base, but you still want to make sure you keep him honest over there.
And Peraza hits into a double play ball for 6-3 on the double play. May have been off the tip, the edge of the glove of Michael Wacha, but into the glove of Carpenter. Taylor made for 6-3. The Cardinals defense around the horn, presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Ozuna, Pham, and Bader in the outfield. Fowler will come off the bench tonight. Jerko, DeYoung, Carpenter, and Martinez along the infield. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Part of the struggles of the Reds has been the slow start for Joey Votto. He was 1 for 11 last weekend against the Cardinals. If you look at the last 3 years for Votto, against St. Louis, 383 the average, 15 home runs in 56 games.
Is that good?
It's pretty darn good.
That's pretty good, yeah. You got to hope that you keep catching him like he was last week. You know it's not going to last for very long with a guy like Joey Votto. He's got an incredible approach. He's got a great eye. He's got tons of power. He's one of the most underrated superstars in the game of baseball. He just doesn't get the love because of where he's playing and the record they've had over the years.
It's a good changeup there, and it's not only about selling it, as you know, Brad, with the great arm action, but also watch this tail away.
Well, it's just got that great same arm action like you said, but if that you leave that thing up, or if it doesn't have that late movement, you allow him to get the barrel to it. That's been a great pitch for Michael Wacha ever since he's came up, but he knows how to use it in so many different ways now. And with Joey Votto, I mean, you can never fall into a pattern. You can't get to a point where it's an obvious changeup count and go for it. You have to mix it up with a guy like him because he's so smart. He adjusts so well. You have to really mix it up.
Goes down to get it. Ground ball hit to second baseman Matt Carpenter. Leadoff base hit, erased on the double play. Votto grounds out to Carpenter. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Finnegan will be Tommy Pham. Good to see him back in the starting lineup. Sat yesterday. The Cardinals lineup features Pham, Carpenter, and Martinez, followed by Ozuna, Molina, Jerko, Bader, currently with a 5-game hitting streak. Then DeYoung and Michael Wacha. Brandon Finnegan made his season debut against the Redbirds last Saturday. Gave up 5 runs, lasted just 4 1/3, a 6-1 loss. And remember, he began the season on the DL with a bicep strain. Let's take a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal with Brandon Finnegan, the lefty.
Well, you're going to get a lot of fastball, slider. He'll throw the change in there every once in a while, but just for a look. He doesn't like to go to it very often. He can beat you with the fastball. He's got good stuff, but that's a great start for the Cardinals right there.
A base hit by Tommy Pham, a career .379 hitter against Cincinnati. When leading off an inning, Tommy Pham, his hitting .571.
Well, you look at that pitch right there too. It's got that good tailing action away. Tommy Pham just stays right on it, doesn't try to do too much. He got a hole on the right side, and he makes him pay for that. And Tommy Pham, we know how aggressive he is on the base paths. He can steal a bag. He can go first to third pretty easily. It's a good start for the Birds.
Carpenter is 4 for 11 against this lefty, and of those 4 hits, 2 have been home runs. Showing bunt, pushed it foul. This is the first time all year long that Matt Carpenter is hit anywhere else outside of the 3 spot in the lineup, and that has been of great debate among fans here in the Midwest.
It certainly has. And here's the thing I believe about Matt Carpenter. I think he will hit anywhere. Wherever you put him, give him enough time, he's going to be fine. He's going to be good to go. But Mike Matheny has a lot of pieces in his lineup at the top that he can move around. So why not tinker every once in a while, especially when you want to give a guy like Fowler the day off, mix some things up a little bit and see how it shakes out.
We saw last weekend Tommy Pham very aggressive against the Gold Glover Tucker Barnhart behind the plate. Tommy up to 5 stolen bases. Fowler on the bench. And a count of no balls and 1 strike on Matt Carpenter. The numbers don't lie. Carpenter has been sensational as a leadoff man, and it's over 2,500 at bats. So it's not a small sample size.
No, not at all. The 3-hole would be more of a small sample size when you're looking at it, and it really doesn't make sense. You see his approach, you see how great he is, you know the power potential that is there. Like I said, I believe it's going to happen in the 3-hole, leading off, 2-hole where he's at tonight. I mean, it's going to happen for him, but it is amazing the difference in the numbers.
This is our AARP take on today. Matt Carpenter, not once, but twice against Finnegan, a couple of home runs. We saw Finnegan against left-handed hitting Greg Garcia give up 2 last weekend. A lot of room on the left side of the infield. The shift on Carpenter and a check on Pham.
As you said, it was nice to see Tommy Pham back in the lineup in center field, leading off. You saw him out in the outfield the other day walking off. You were worried if, in fact, that would be a lingering thing. Good thing it wasn't, because the Cardinals are at their best when Tommy Pham is in there doing his thing.
Little bigger lead this time for Pham, and an 0-2 pitch to Carpenter. Tommy Pham with 9 stolen bases against the Reds since he was called up. That's the most of any player against Cincinnati. Outfield, in particular, Winker deep and right. The 1-2 slicing out to left, and the catch is made by Duvall. Take a look at the Reds defensively this evening with Duvall in left field. Hamilton already 3 outfield assists in center. Winker is in right. It's presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Blandino, Barraza, Jeanette, Votto on the infield, and Barnhart is behind the plate. Jose Martinez, 7th in the league in batting average at .339. 6th in RBI with 15.
Dan, I don't think too many people would have thought when they heard of Jose Martinez, or got the first chance to see him a couple of years ago, that we'd be seeing him in the 3-hole for your St. Louis Cardinals and just tearing it up.
It started last spring training, carried over to the tail end of last year. Had a very good spring, to the point that even his teammates are saying he's got to play. We got to figure out a spot for him, and looks like more times than not this year in 2018 he'll be your first baseman.
By the way, you don't hear that very often. You don't hear that from your teammates. Hey, we've got to figure out a way to get him in, because you know that it's going to be at somebody's expense, right? Like those at bats are going to come from somewhere. That's how valuable he is. And to me, that also tells you how good of a teammate Jose Martinez is. You just see him around the clubhouse. You see how everybody reacts to him. They love being around him, and the guy produces on the field. What's not to like?
Last weekend against Cincinnati in that 4-game sweep, he was on fire. Went 8 for 16, 5 extra base hits, and drove in 7. Martinez, a little flare into shallow right. That ball will drop. Pham aggressive to second. Now on his way to third. Very nice base running by Tommy Pham. He read that perfectly.
Get this pitch, gets in on Martinez a little bit. You see Tommy Pham though, and that's what Tommy Pham has speed, okay, but that's not the whole thing about being a good base runner. You have to get good jumps, you have to get good reads, you have to know where your outfielders are playing, and he knew right there exactly where Winker was and made a good read right there. Got first and third, one out. Find yourself in a really good position right here with Marcell Ozuna up.
So runners at first and third. And a pitch up and in to Ozuna. 1 for 4 with a home run against this lefty. And Marcell is 0 for his last 12. He'd love to change that here. That's it out of play. The starters, that has been the problem for Cincinnati, at least a big part of it, in dropping 8 straight now to the Cardinals. The starters with an ERA near 9, and they are 0-6. The 1-1. Kubota power stats. Most home runs allowed at Busch Stadium since it opened in 2006. And the Reds 15 ahead of Chicago. Two strikes on Ozuna. Takes a ball low. Speaking with those that watched Ozuna in Miami day in and day out, they talk about he can be streaky, but when he gets hot, there is nobody hotter in the game.
No, it's his season went under the radar due to the fact that he had the MVP alongside with him. But when you look at the numbers that he put up, this was one of the best acquisitions in the entire offseason.
Ball gets away, and Jose Martinez advances to second base. What do you think? Maybe another 2 or 3 feet. Tommy Pham tries to make it 1-0.
So. You know, you could tell he wanted it already, but he thought better of it. Yeah, but 2 feet probably. Not even 3, 2.5 maybe.
Yeah.
You know Tommy's aggressive.
He's going.
He is. I like that about him.
A 3-2 pitch. Bases loaded. Ball 4 to Ozuna. Point I was making before coincides with Brian Price not being here. He can't throw strikes. He's the one that can't hit or field. Got dealt a pretty tough hand, and now with Jim Riggleman in that dugout, it's the bases loaded and only 1 out for Yadier Molina.
Well, you talked about it earlier as well. You can't fire an entire team, right? So 94 losses the last 2 years in a row, 98 the year before. You start out 3-15. Something has to happen, right? And it happened at Brian Price's expense.
Ball 1 to Yadier Molina. Molina was 6 for 16 last weekend. A pair of home runs and drove in 6 against Cincinnati. A .310 average in his career with the bases loaded. There's a drive into right center field. This ball is a one-hopper that scoots over the wall. Ground rule double for Yadier Molina. 2 runs will score. 2-0 St. Louis.
Yadi gets a ball up, out, over right here and does what we've seen him do for a long time. Drives it in the gap. Stayed on that ball so well. The hop is the only thing that stopped that from being 3 RBI right there. But the Cardinals get on top. Right guy, right spot. Yadi always finds himself up in those big spots, and you always expect him to pay off.
Here's Jed Jerko. Yachty now passes Albert Pujols for the most driven in Busch Stadium 3 history with 357. And Albert Pujols inching closer to 3,000 hits. One out, runners at second and third. 1 ball and 1 strike. Boy, think about that. Albert Pujols left after the 2012 season, and we're just getting to the point of the all-time RBI leader in this ballpark.
I know it was so amazing what we got an opportunity to see for a decade here. He's one of the best to ever not just put on a Cardinal uniform. He's one of the best players to ever play the game of baseball. I think he still sits currently right now 4th all-time as far as Cardinals go in hits. That was 900 hits ago that he's had with the Angels. What an incredible career. I know he's had to change a little bit, but he is still quite the guy to be reckoning with.
Took some off that pitch. 2-2 on Jed Jerko, who's reached base in 9 of his 12 plate appearances this year. Dealt with the sore hamstring that put him on the DL. 2-2 the count. The 2-2 deep left at the wall, and it's caught. Ozuna will tag up. That makes it a 3-0 St. Louis lead as Jerko just missed his first home run of the year.
Man, he jumped on that thing, get a fastball on the inner half, and he got every bit of this baseball. Doesn't get it out of the park, doesn't hit a double, but certainly drives in a run. See this pitch, inner half. Look, you're not going to beat Jed Jerko in there. Like, he turns and burns on anything on the inner half. The wind blowing in a little bit tonight at Busch Stadium. Still the cooler air out there. You give it a couple more weeks, that bad boy might be in the 1st or 2nd row.
Here's Harrison Bader in ball 1. So again, Finnegan pitching behind, and Brad Thompson, who is our analyst tonight, by the way, making his booth debut. You know about this. I mean, pitching behind in the count, you're asking for trouble.
You are. Everybody knows what you're going to come with after that. So you're not able to command anything. You might have 2-3 pitches, but if you can't throw your first one for a strike, you're going to end up in a hole, and guys are going to jump all over you. And then you end up making guys, you start elevating. You try to throw strikes just down the middle and make it easy, and then you're giving up balls in the gap.
He's had 1 of 7 first pitch strikes. The 2-0 pitch to Bader. Hit out of play.
It's the 1st inning right now, and Brandon Finnegan sitting with 26 pitches. The Cardinals doing exactly what they want to do, getting the pitch count up, scoring some runs. But the bullpen is probably already thinking about, man, this could be a long one for us.
The next to Bader. And when you're not around the plate, you don't get those calls either. Very close, 3-1. And Paul DeYoung at the on-deck circle. By the way, when I said pitching behind, I was not referring to your career.
No, I knew exactly what you were trying to do.
Statement about pitching.
I think it was twofold, probably. It was one of those backhanded compliments. Like, you'd know what Brandon Finnegan is going through, and I do know what this feels like, the meeting in the 1st inning, and it is a bad feeling. You're feeling for stuff. Remember, this is only Brandon Finnegan's 2nd start of the year, and you could just tell early on he was up in the zone, and he's been spiking pitches, doesn't have a feel for it yet. Finnegan's got really good stuff, Dan. I mean, we've got to see it over the last couple of years. Got to see it when he broke into the big leagues with the Royals as a reliever. But he's just still waiting to put it together. He's dealt with the shoulder injuries the last couple of years and is just trying to find his footing in the big leagues.
Well, not only was Jim Riggleman named as the interim manager, but Danny Darwin is now the interim pitching coach. Mac Jenkins was let go of his spot. Pat Kelly also a bench coach previously with their AAA affiliate in Louisville. Runners at first and second for Paul DeJong. Tied with Yadier Molina for the team lead with 5 home runs and a strike. Strikeouts piling up for Paul DeJong as this season goes on in the early months.
Yeah, they do, and you think that that's something. He's a really smart guy. He's a smart hitter. He's a smart baseball player, and you hope that that gets better, but he still has that damage potential. So even if you strike out here and there, if you can drive the baseball, there's plenty of value in that.
Good example of that the other night, 4 strikeouts and then a key home run.
That's not a Paul DeJong trend. That is a Major League Baseball trend.
Absolutely.
I mean, look around. Home runs are up. Strikeouts are setting records. This is what the game is evolving into. Love it or hate it, I mean, that's the way it's trending.
The Cardinals, this is good to see against a lefty. St. Louis came in hitting 187 collectively in their lineup against lefties. DeJong 1 for 12 against lefties so far this year, but that one hit was a home run. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Molina the double. Bader drew the walk. Bader now has reached base safely in 7 straight. And it's 2-2.
Last thing Finnegan wants to do here is get to 3-2. He's probably going to be trying to throw a strike here, and Paul DeJong's going to be ready to jump on it.
The 2-2 inside corner and struck him out. First strikeout for Brandon Finnegan. Big first inning for the Cardinals with 3 hits, 3 runs, highlighted by that double by Yadier Molina. Cardinals on top as we head to the second.
And Tommy says he's past his minor groin injury, but that doesn't mean he got out of frigid Chicago unscathed. Tommy says he's determined to play through it, but he told me he's dealing with flu-like symptoms and it's not easing up. Tommy told me, I've been taking all kinds of medicine, it's not working. Sick or not, Mike Matheny says he enjoys seeing what Pham can do in the leadoff spot. He told me the last time we saw Tommy at the top of the order, there were no runners in front of him to keep him from stealing second and stealing third. Even being a threat to do that is big. Dan?
All right, Jimmy, good stuff. And there's Tommy Pham in center battling the flu-like symptoms. I think we all were concerned the other day, the cold night in Chicago, and Looked like he had injured his groin, had to get it checked out. I spoke with him in the team hotel. He said if I needed to play and start yesterday, I could have, but out there battling the flu, and good to see him there. This is Scooter Gennett.
You got to be smart with any injury like that. A guy like Tommy Pham, you know what he can do. You saw the numbers last year, so you're smart with it. You know he's tough too. Flu-like symptoms, I think a lot of guys might take the day, right? Even if you already had one, but he wants to be in the lineup, and he looked pretty good so far. Just trying to think if I shook hands with him today. I don't want that flu.
Now I think if I shook your hand after that.
That's how things spread. It's not
well,
good.
no kidding.
No wonder everybody does the fist bump now. We'll do that.
The Cardinals and Reds have now played 37 innings against each other this year, and the Cardinals have led for 35 of the 37 innings. Reds have been playing catch up. Off speed pitch that's tapped foul by Scooter Gennett. He's got probably the best numbers of anyone in this lineup for the Reds. 9 for 28. That's a .321 average against Michael Wacha.
Scooter Gennett's a good ball player. We
sure
remember
is.
the game that he had last year. He picks it well over at second base. He can drive the ball all over the place.
That's hit up the middle and a base hit. Let's turn to Brad Thompson's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, I'll tell you one with Michael Wacha is get ahead. Get ahead and stay ahead. That's been an issue for him here recently, and even in this ball game so far, he hasn't got ahead of a hitter yet out of the 4 that he's faced. Get ahead, stay ahead. He's got 4 pitches, but you have to be able to get that first one over for a strike. And we know the Reds' record. We know that they fired their manager, but for some reason, when this happens, when there is a change in the guard over there, the team gets a boost, right? Don't let them get one. The Cardinals have done a very good job of getting on top early, but make sure you keep that momentum going, because you just never know what's going to happen with a team who is just battling at this point.
Now Adam Duvall. It's a leadoff base hit in the first by Jesse Winker. He was erased on a double play. Duvall, a slow start, batting .175. Brian Price averaged 93 losses in his 4 full seasons as manager. He took over that position after Dusty Baker had led the Reds to 3 of 4 postseason appearances. Here's the 0-1. Last time that a manager was fired this early in the season, it was 2002. Phil Garner was with Detroit. Davey Lopes that year with Milwaukee. Both were let go. One 6 games in, the other one 15 into the season. And the 0-2. So trying to change the direction early on in a season. Other teams have done it. And you think about what's happened here with the Cincinnati Reds. We mentioned you got to have the horses, and you got to have a minor league system. Right now, reports will tell you that's bare. Do you want to have pitchers come to a hitters friendly ballpark? You could do that, but you're going to have to overpay. And they historically have not gone out into free agency and spent a lot of money. So this is a tough job.
It is for sure. And when you go through something like this, when you have to fire a manager, and we have been very fortunate here in St. Louis. I mean, you get this job and you're in it for quite some time. But when you do that, this is top to bottom for the Reds. I mean, this is the entire organization, from the money that you're spending or not spending, the players that you're bringing in, the trades that you're making. I know it's a rebuild, but at some point when you're averaging 93 wins, I mean, at some point somebody's got to go, right? And it ends up being Brian Price. So I don't think Brian Price by any means is a bad manager, but it was a bad recipe over there, and they needed to make some sort of a change.
3-2 the count on Duvall. 3-0 Cardinals here in the top of the second, and a high fly ball lifted out to left. Ozuna in a position to throw, and back to first base goes Gennett.
Scooter Gennett thought about it a little bit. We've talked about the Marcell Ozuna dealing with the arm issues a little bit. Looks like it's getting stronger and stronger, but he thought about testing him, but thought the better of it. Ball came out of Ozuna's hands fairly good right there.
Cardinals say he'll get a little bit of a tingling sensation in his fingers if he really airs one out. So 1 out and a runner at first, and here's a switch hitting Tucker Barnhart. Went ahead in the count. No surprise, but very good numbers. The opponent's hitting just 125. Falls behind and they do some damage.
No, it's no secret. I mean, that's how you want to pitch. You want to get ahead. It just allows you to get to everything else. Michael Wacha's got one of the best changeups in baseball, but if you're falling behind, it's hard to throw that pitch. Good breaking ball for him right there, by the way, to get right back, stay on top of this count, get it to 0-2. That pitch has felt a lot more comfortable for him. I love the fact that he's built in that cutter that he feels comfortable going to, but it is all about commanding the counts. Once he gets that, he can use his entire arsenal whenever he wants.
And the 0-2. Spoiled. Barnhart has really struggled in this spot with 2 strikes so far this year, 1 for 20. Tommy Pham shading him a bit to the opposite field. And the 0-2 pitch. Struck him out. First strikeout for Michael Wacha. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
Get that nice fastball in. 0-2 count. If you're sitting there and you're Barnhart, you know he's got that changeup. You're thinking about that in the back of your head. A well-placed fastball on the inner half. It's hard to catch up to when you might be looking for something else. And Michael Wacha executed right there.
Here's Alex Blandino, 1 for 17 for the rookie to start his major league career. 2 outs, and the runner at first is Gennett. That's it out of play. Michael Wacha, you mentioned in the previous at bat the curveball, which is something we always talk about, that it's ever improving. I think it's become a better pitch for him, not just to be a two pitch pitcher with the changeup and the fastball. And a ground ball hit to short, backhanded by DeYoung, and the forced play at second. Red Strand a runner. We're in St. Louis. We're back home, and the Cardinals on top. selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. And by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Pick your power, fuel, or battery with Steel. Search STIHL. Great to have Brad Thompson with us tonight. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us as well. Of course, many fans have seen Brad on our pre and post game shows. He'll be doing a handful of games throughout the year here in the booth. It's Michael Wacha, Tommy Pham, and Matt Carpenter. Brad also the proud owner of a 2006 World Series ring.
It doesn't fit.
Why not?
I think I was a little more portly when I played, I guess, but it never even fit then. So I don't wear it as often. I have to wear it on my middle finger, and showing that off could be a problem. So I don't wear it as much as I probably should. But I do love it. Proud owner is very true.
You need to give your former teammate Jason Isringhausen some trouble.
For what?
Which I know won't be a problem.
I'm not going to do that, actually.
He will not wear his World Series ring.
I get it. I know.
You know why?
I do know why, and he earned every bit of that ring and was one of the biggest reasons we won that ring. But I do understand, because he doesn't feel like he was as much of a part of it because he was hurt. That's
what
ridiculous.
He told me, and I said, you need to start wearing that ring.
You're darn right he should.
As Wacha grounds back to Finnegan, we're back to the top of the lineup and Tommy Pham. I bet Izzy was not only a mentor, but just a great teammate for guys out in that bullpen.
He is one of my favorite people in the whole world. As a young guy coming up, like, you want somebody that you can look to, somebody that will help you out along the way, and Izzy certainly was that for me. He was that for a lot of guys, and I know Adam Wainwright was the guy on the hill at the end of the games, closing out the NLCS, closing out the World Series. I don't think that he'd have been there if it weren't for Jason Isringhausen as well. Such a valuable guy, and obviously still in the organization, doing a lot of great things and helping out kids all throughout the organization.
I asked Adam, I said, specifically, what did Izzy do for you? And he said, he taught me to breathe. He said, when
it's hard to do.
The moment got big and things are racing around, you have to slow down and breathe.
Dan, I didn't breathe the first inning.
I bet.
The whole first inning. Got to remember to breathe. Adam didn't tell me that today. He didn't say breathe while you're up there.
Oh, you're talking about being in the booth?
Yeah, up here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You're
talking about a great mentor. That guy, Adam Wainwright, we know what he's done on the bump, but what he does inside that clubhouse and what he does just helping out players, whether it be young guys, veteran guys, doesn't matter, position players. Adam Wainwright is always there. He's always there to help out. He's a team first guy, and one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best in a long time to wear the birds on the bat.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Pham is 9 for 17 against the Reds this year. Single to right, scored a run first time up. Leads the club with 17 runs scored. The 3-2 inside, and he draws the 1-out walk. There were over 42,000 hits in the 2017 season. All you need is one to keep the streak alive. Download Beat the Streak today. Compete to win $5.6 million at MLB.com/BTS or download Beat the Streak in the App Store today. 1-out walk, and it brings in Carpenter. Fly to left his first time up. And for Finnegan, that's already 3 walks.
44 pitches in his inning and a third so far. It has been tough sledding for Brandon Finnegan, and hopefully the Cardinals keep pouring on. You've got him on the ropes. Get to that bullpen as early as you can.
Next inning, we'll have a visit with former Cardinals Scott Terry, as the Cardinals kids clinics are about set to kick off again for the summer. And there's one probably headed towards your area. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2 the count. Breaking ball that time by Finnegan. Remember, Finnegan pitched at TCU. Carpenter played at TCU. Matt was one of the rare 5-year players in college baseball. As he puts that in play to Votto, steps on the bag. The tag, no. It hit Pham, I believe, as he is slow to get back up at the bag at second base. Seems to be all right.
It was a nice play by Joey Votto outside of just hitting Tommy Pham. Looked like it caught him maybe in the back of the helmet, but he turns, makes a good play. Tommy Pham just running right here and does catch him right in the back of the head, it looks like.
Gives a thumbs up. He says he's all right. And extends the inning to Jose Martinez.
Dan, I'm sure you've had flu-like symptoms at one point. A little bop to the back of the head probably won't change anything.
No. And Tommy has been on base twice dealing with those flu-like symptoms here early on. Jose Martinez hitting .471 this year with runners in scoring position. Cardinals average this season against the Reds, our Lowe's whole team together now, pretty good numbers. One ball, one strike. One thing you notice about Martinez, who singled his first time up, the plate coverage for a big man. Not a lot of holes to where teams have tried to pitch him inside. They try to go out, they go up. He makes the adjustments.
He does. The amazing part is he's got power to all field, but in a situation, he's not afraid to just hit a ground ball the other way or try to flare one into right field. He's just a complete hitter. And there's another one.
Base hit into left center. Pham will score. Jose Martinez on his way to second, standing up with a double to make it 4-0. A 2-out RBI double for Jose Martinez. He jumped on this pitch.
Just a fastball or a little slider here on the inner half, and he drives it. That's what we were just talking about. Wherever it's pitched, he ends up hitting it. This ball's elevated a little bit. He hits it in the gap. Jose Martinez, every single time he has an opportunity to do something, the guy's ready. He's been a fun story to watch for the last year plus.
110 miles per hour off the bat. And now Marcell Ozuna walked and scored back in the first. That would load him up for Molina. He would double to drive in 2. Jerko, the sac fly, made it 3-0. And Martinez, the RBI double, makes it 4-0. The pickoff and back in safely. Barely. Reds are going to take a look at this. He needed all of that 6'7" body to get back in safely.
He certainly did. And for Brandon Finnegan, when you're struggling to find an out at the plate, sometimes you have to get creative, right? Sometimes you have to try to turn and burn, and he does so right here. Very well executed. That is a bang play right there. From that first look, going to be very hard to try to overturn that. Feel the same way about that look.
And the Reds will indeed challenge. Jose Martinez, by the way, tied for the tallest player to wear the birds on the bat. He's 6'7", and so is Wainwright.
Tallest ever?
Believe
Really?
so.
Wow. Impressive.
Well, if you're Jim Riggleman, you're down 4-0. You're going to challenge here early on. And I'm sure one of the things that he's saying is that, look, you got Brandon Finnegan, who's on the ropes. Another runner in scoring position, a dangerous man at the plate.
Let's help our guy out.
Yeah, we can't allow any more damage.
You might as well take a chance. Now, from the looks that we got, it looks so bang. It's going to be very hard to overturn the initial one. Man, the question is, does he? It looks like the glove is there before the hand, but does he actually make contact?
I think that's the best view right there. Very close.
Totally agree, though. If you are Jim Riggleman, why not? Right? Take a shot, see what happens. Worst case scenario, look, you got to get an out anyhow.
In New York, with that last replay we just showed, they can enhance the video, blow it up a little bit, obviously in high definition, and with that get an even better look. This is the look that they'll be taking a hard, long look at. And we have a call. I agree with you. I just don't know if there was enough to show that you could overturn it.
It was hard. If the call was made the other way, if he were called out and Mike Matheny was the one that wanted to challenge it, I think that call stands as well. It was just one of those baseball plays where it's as close as can be, and it worked out well for the Cardinals.
So 2 outs. First pitch was a ball. And now the 1-0 to Marcell Ozuna. Off the end of the bat and foul. One ball and 1 strike. Finnegan went from the College World Series and then pitched in baseball's World Series, TCU, and then called up in 14 with the Royals. As Ozuna hits that out of play.
Dan, I can't imagine that's happened too many times.
One time. That's the man on the mound.
He was nasty that postseason too, and Ned Yost was not afraid to go to him in big time spots. He had the slider working. He was throwing upper 90s. He was outstanding that playoffs.
Cody Reed was a part of that deal. They had another lefty as well for Johnny Cueto. The 1-2 is lifted in the air out to left. Duvall is there and he makes the catch. Cardinals pick up another run. We play 2. 4-0 St. Louis. Former Cardinals Scott Terry, who is always busy with different things with the Cardinals, whether it be the fantasy camp or coming up the kids clinics, joins us. Always good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir, Dan. Thanks for letting me be here. I appreciate it.
This is when I know the season is fully here. Is
It's
when
here.
you pop in the booth.
It's time to kick some things off with all kinds of stuff going on around town, not just right here at the stadium.
Absolutely. The kids clinics, you've been doing this how many years now?
19.
19 years.
Can you believe that?
Really? They've
Yeah.
been around that long?
You didn't know I was that old, did you?
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but you did.
I resemble that remark.
You love doing these. You love doing the kids clinics.
I do. I do. I like seeing kids from 7 to 13-year-olds come out and watch a bunch of Cardinals put things together and have some fun at it, because sometimes they don't always have fun, you know.
Here's a 1-1 pitch, and that's hit out of play by Brandon Finnegan. And we should mention it's not just for the boys, but for the girls to come out too.
Girls are welcome. We love to have the girls out there. Any kids between 7 and 13 that want to come out and play some baseball for that day and learn some fundamentals and spend some time with some former players, we'd love to have them.
How about some of those former players that'll be in attendance with you?
Yeah, Danny Cox, Tommy Lawless, some of my teammates. Kerry Robinson is there. TJ Matthews, Pat Perry, Lonnie Macklin, Neil Fiala. We got a lot of good guys, a lot of guys that have been doing these clinics for a long time and very well versed at teaching kids. That's what makes them so good at what they do is we can really break the game down for the kids and present something to them they can take with them.
So a boy or a girl ages 7 to 13 shows up at a camp. Usually what time, and then what happens in that camp?
We usually get going at 8 o'clock, so they'll want to be there a little bit before that to register. Now that's if it's a camp that's not too far away. We're all going to Effingham and Springfield, Illinois, and Columbia, Missouri, and Cape Girardeau. So those 4 camps are afternoon camps because we have to travel a little bit to get there.
So those are the new sites too, right?
Yeah, those were 3 new sites.
Yeah.
Not to Effingham and Columbia, Missouri, and Springfield, Illinois. Those are all new ones. Cape Girardeau, it's like our 4th year. We've sold it out every year. We have 150 kids every year. It's a great site. We'll do the same thing at these new places that we're going. But
there's a base hit by Billy Hamilton.
Yeah.
He's thinking 2. They'll test Ozuna, and Hamilton back to first safely.
You know, when they hit one of those little soft liners, I used to always look over there at first base and say, go back and hit again. You're not going to take that, are you? And they still took it for some reason.
I bet they did.
You know, hey.
It's a tough league, man. You know that.
But generally, we start at 8 in the morning at registrations. Prior to that, and then we'll do 5 rotations at 5 stations. Take a break in the middle, do some autographs at the end with some prizes. We do base running, we do fielding, throwing, hitting. Fly balls, ground balls are our fielding. So we cover all 5 of the fundamentals that they need to do.
Back to the top of the lineup, and Jesse Winker. We should mention that every kid in attendance gets a cap, Cardinals t-shirt, goodie bag filled with Cardinal items, a voucher good for 2 tickets to a future Cardinals game. And as you mentioned, the baseball cards autographed by the alumni at the clinics. And something that you've added this year is that in select spots, there'll be some current players that come out too.
Yeah, this is the first year we've tried this. We're really looking forward to it. Think it's going to go over really good. We always have 6 alumni there, counting myself. So they'll always have those autographs to get. But at Fairview Heights, at Afton, at Arnold, and at Baldwin, we'll have a current player come out and be there for an hour, 11 to 12, which is at the tail end of our clinic, and they'll sign autographs for the kids as well. So we're looking forward to doing that and seeing probably get some of the younger players, obviously, which is great.
Absolutely.
Because those are the ones you want to find out a little bit something about.
Well, for fans that don't know, Scott Terry is a great teacher of the game, in particular the mechanics of pitching and how to throw the baseball properly. So I'm curious, in general, are kids better athletes now? Are they loving the game more? Are you seeing more kids introduced to the game? What's your general feeling about kids getting involved in baseball?
I think there's probably as many that are playing. I don't think they play quite as long because almost all the kids nowadays, for some reason, I think the parents are pushing this. They want them to try to pick a sport at a younger age and commit to it.
A base hit into right by Winker, and Hamilton on his way to third, so runners at the corners here for the Reds.
So a kid's going to have to pick between soccer or baseball at a younger age if that's what their parents want them to do. Me, I prefer them play as many sports as they can because baseball needs athletes. They don't need baseball players. And don't take that the wrong way, but if all you ever do is play baseball your whole life when you're 8 years old all the way up, then you haven't really done any type of training or agility or mobility of other sports which enhance your baseball abilities.
What do you think about guys at this level that, you know, the analytics will tell you, well, 3rd time through a lineup and a starter's going to have issues, and right now, generally speaking, we're seeing starters only go 6, maybe 7 innings.
Yeah, it's getting more prominent. But you know, the biggest difference when I played, we had a 9-man staff, 10 at the most.
Right.
We didn't have 13.
Right.
So when that starter went out there, he was there for a while.
One way or another.
Good, bad, or indifferent. You know, we need to get 5 or 6 here. You know, and you know, sometimes it was like that, but. That's the difference. Is they carry the 12-man bullpen, the 13-man, you know, or the 12-man staff, the extra guys in the bullpen, and I guess they would rather have those as the other bench players.
Yeah.
And of course, that's their preference. That's fine if that's the way they want to play the game and go about it. But you know, the same thing happened. We didn't have analytics when I played, but we already knew that the third time through, the third time you're going to get a guy out is much more difficult than the first 2. So a lot of those numbers were the same then, but you just had to pitch.
And the 1-0 is lifted high in the air out to left. Ozuna under it. Hamilton will tag up from third. The throw comes in. It's cut off by Jerko. Throw to second.
That's a nice play.
Out. That's how you do it.
That's how you play the game right there. That's why you hit the cutoff man, young kids.
Always great to see you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dan. It's always good to visit with you, and hope all the kids will come out and see us. We start June 6th, and we'll do it through July.
You got to go over to the radio side now?
I am.
Boy, good luck.
Thank you.
Great to see you. You draw it up, you want to hit the cutoff. What's interesting though about that play is that there is no way anybody on this earth is going to throw out Billy Hamilton tagging up from where Ozuna was in left field. No chance, and it turns out to be a double play for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the process was. You would think that that throw would just go to second base initially, but it was the old bait and switch. We think you're going to air it out home. Jed Jerko does a nice job of corralling this thing. Ozuna gets behind it, but like I said, Billy Hamilton over at third, you've got no chance. Jed Jerko with a nice transfer, though, and ends up getting him over at second base to end the inning.
Yadier Molina came up with the bases loaded back in the first inning. And it was a ground rule double that scored 2 as he passed Albert Pujols. Most RBI at Busch Stadium 3. And a soft liner hit to short. That run scored snaps a streak of 21 consecutive scoreless innings by the Reds. Here's Jed Jerko. We know that Jed loves to be aggressive early in counts. 8 home runs, the first pitch of an at-bat last season. And he takes a ball outside. He's kind of the anti-hitter of 2018, which is
you're absolutely
go
right.
deep into a count.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a little bit harder, though, to be aggressive like that when you're facing a guy like Brandon Finnegan, who's had a tough time getting ahead early. So it kind of throws off your game plan a little bit if you do want to attack early.
1 ball and 1 strike. Those 8 home runs on the first pitch were 3 off the major league lead. Chris Davis, Joey Gallo, and then Jed Jerko. Picked up a sac fly and an RBI back in the first inning. That made it 3-0. Cardinals got an RBI double with 2 outs in the second to make it 4-0. Reds have come back with 1. Two and 2 the count. Big gap in left center. Inside corner struck him out. Monday, May 7th, the Cardinals will celebrate the Super Bowl champ and recent Pro Football Hall of Famer Kurt Warner will be back in town, and fans who purchase a special Kurt Warner themed ticket receive a one-of-a-kind Warner Hall of Fame bobblehead. Tickets at cardinals.com/theme. And a strike on Bader. Walked his first time up.
We showed the Brandon Finnegan pitch arsenal earlier, and only 7% of the time he used the changeup, but you've seen it a few times here early on. There's another one right there. He's got to go to the well, right? Sometimes when you're not, when you're feeling for things and you're not being able to execute, you have to go to some pitches that you don't like to go to as much. That's a good changeup right there, though, and he threw a very nice one right before that to Jed Jerko before he, hit that fastball in the inner half. That's a good pitch for Brandon Finnegan.
A pitch taken low. Once again, when we remind everybody, for kids 7 to 13, those clinics, cardinals.com/clinics. Kicks off on June 6th. 2 and 2.
Those clinics are a blast, by the way.
You've worked a bunch of those.
I'm telling you, the instructors, your former Cardinals that are doing it, have just as much fun as the kids do. It's what it's all about. It's about giving it back. It's about teaching the fundamentals and having fun while doing so. And the Cardinals do a great job with this one.
You include tonight, it's been a lot of walks for Finnegan. 15 and a third. This includes this evening against St. Louis. He has walked 17.
That's too many, Dan. That's hard. It's hard to put yourself in trouble like that. We know Finnegan's got good stuff and he can get out of jams, but you don't want to keep putting yourself in them.
Slowly hit left side. Bader can fly and beats it out. Infield hit. So 2-out hit for Bader. And the batter is DeYoung.
It's a line drive in the book right there. Harrison Bader running hard out of the box. And that's what speed does. Speed put pressure on everybody. He knew that he had to be quick right there. Blandino did over at third. He wasn't able to come up with the handles on that one. Harrison Bader with a big 2-out knock.
Now Paul DeYoung, the 8th place hitter. Bader is running. Great jump and an easy stolen base for Harrison Bader. Nearly slid off the bag. That's his 3rd steal to go along with extending his hitting streak to 6 games here tonight.
see the great jump he gets off of the lefty. And like you said, the speed. All of a sudden, this little ground ball, he just gave himself a chance putting it in play and took off running. Turns into him being on second base with a chance to hopefully drive in a run here.
You know, that is the risk you run when you've got the 8th place hitter behind you, and then you know in the National League the pitcher coming up, and the decision by Jim Riggleman to pitch to Michael Wacha.
Just an opportunity for Michael Wacha to help himself out. You know that Brandon Finnegan is going to want to get ahead of you. You do want to work counts at times. For Michael Wacha, though, he's got a good chance of getting a fastball up in the zone right here. Might want to jump early.
So runners at first and second. Wacha bounce back to Finnegan. First time up. Did get that pitch up, but it's a strike. One ball and one strike. Very shallow in right field. That's Jesse Winker. And a big gap in left center. Goes the other way, but foul. Nice play made by a fan. Front row down there. Got a big crowd on this Friday night. We're anticipating well over 40,000 this weekend, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Stark contrast to what we saw in Cincinnati last weekend.
I would think a little bit different weather-wise than you had in Chicago this past week as well.
Chilly. Down the right field line, foul.
I love that. The guys are pumped up for him, rooting for their buddy. There's always competition that goes on, but swinging the bat with the starting pitchers, that's one of them. Adam Wainwright loves to tell everybody how good of a hitter he is, and he is very good. Michael Wacha would like to be able to do that as well. Finnegan trying to steal another out over there at second base.
Here's a 1-2 and a ground ball hit to third, bobbled and out. Blandino stayed with it. Votto coming up when we come back. wherever you go, any device. Just download the app Fox Sports Go and you can watch St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Let's check in with Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
Dan, John Mozeliak says the reports on Alex Reyes continue to be very positive. Reyes has had extended spring, and Mozeliak told me by early to mid-May, Alex will begin more of an official rehab assignment. By around June 1st, we'll make a decision on where he may or may not fit in with us. Dan Mozeliak told me this in regard to how they'll decide on how Reyes will be used. I feel like you have to look at it two ways. One is where he's at based on his rehab. He could be back as a starter. The other is what this team needs. The next 4 to 6 weeks will determine that. Dan?
Jimmy, good stuff. And from a fan's perspective, you cannot hear enough news about Alex Reyes. If you're a Cardinal fan, you want to know where he's at every single step of the way. Mike Matheny told me the other day, I asked him, I said, where's Alex Reyes in his progress? And he said, I don't know. I said, Mike, where's Alex Reyes with his process and the progress that he's trying to make? He said, I don't know. He said, I have to make myself not look at the reports because I'm too tempted. I can't do it. So, Jimmy, thank you. I need to know where he's at.
It's smart, right? Somebody will let you know. Somebody will let you know when he is ready. And Mike is very fortunate that he has a lot of great pitchers at his disposal. But we had a chance to see Alex Reyes on the biggest stage, and he's fantastic. I mean, what's not to love? And he's already proven that he can do it out of the bullpen. He can start for you, and that's going to be the biggest thing is when he is ready, what is your need as a ball club? And you know you're going to watch his innings. You're going to watch how many games. If he's out of the pen, you're going to watch his back-to-back games and just overall pitch count. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but he is a net benefit wherever you have him.
No doubt. Here's Joey Votto. 2 balls, 1 strike, 4-1 our score. My partner tonight is Brad Thompson. You had Tommy John surgery, and from your perspective and then those that you talked to and coming back from that surgery, is there the right way to do it? Meaning, is it better to build up in the bullpen? Is it better to be a starter and go down to the minor leagues and build up innings that way? What's your expertise with that?
You know what? There's in my opinion, there's no one right way as far as what your role is. Now, I will say this: it's easier to have a regimen as a starting pitcher. All right, it's easier to get your work in, whatever the team says your pitch limit is, whether it be 75, 80, 85 pitches, and then you have 4 days in between to put in all the maintenance work. Like, that's the easiest way to keep a handle on a guy. But when you have a guy that's coming back from Tommy John, he's put all the rehab in. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to pitch. So ultimately, whatever you need, you got to have the guy ready. And there will be some feel issues probably as far as your feel for your off speed early on when you get to big game speed. And hopefully those are some wrinkles that he's already getting taken care of right now. But for a guy like Reyes, who has the arm that he has, the velo is going to be fine. He's going to be back, and he's going to be helping this ball club.
Now, something you have to consider, and this is Scooter Gennett at the plate with Joey Votto, your runner at first base. The Cardinals have to get, though, to a certain amount of innings with him. You've got to get, you always talk about, let's say, Steven Strasburg when he was coming back. You don't want to go over this amount of innings. Well, you don't want to have too few innings.
Correct.
To where you're not building up enough, and that's something you have to keep in mind as well. They've got to get to a certain number that they have in mind before this season is through. Here's an 0-2 pitch, and it's popped up. Paul DeYoung with the catch, and that's the first out. Want to buy or sell tickets at the last minute? Get the StubHub app, where you can grab 100% MLB verified tickets until the first pitch, or sell your extras to another fan. Get the StubHub app today. StubHub, official partner of the Cardinals. And that's why I've been saying, I think before it's all said and done, this Cardinal bullpen, if Reyes, let's say, goes that way, or Flaherty comes up and goes in the bullpen, whatever the case may be, they have options. but it has a chance to be a dominant bullpen before it's all said and done.
I totally agree. I think with the pieces that you have right here, right now in this bullpen, it can be dominant. We'll still see how it all irons out in the back end. Greg Holland gets everything figured out. We already know that Jordan Hicks is an impact player. I mean, he is special, and Norris has been fantastic. But you talk about Reyes, you talk about Flaherty. There are other guys on the horizon. Dakota Hudson, Austin Gomber. I mean, there are so many guys. Gant, John Gant, who threw the ball so well. So many great options for the Cardinals to have. The hard part is finding spots for all these guys.
Right.
It's a good problem.
1 ball, 1 strike. There's a look at Jordan Hicks there, a young man that has burst onto the scene. A lot of fun to watch. The 1-1. In the air, out to center, backing up Tommy Pham. That's Votto, your runner at first base. Not running. And DeVol flies to center, and he's 0 for 2. Joey Votto, by the way, was asked before the season, what's the aspect of your game that you'd like to improve upon? You were just this short of being the MVP, and he said, I've got to be a better base runner. Now, he's not fast, and he'll tell you that, but he really tried to improve on his base running, and last week, though, he was picked off in a key spot against the Cardinals.
You don't have to be fast to be a good base runner. Look at Yadier Molina. Yadi is not fast. He's a tremendous base runner. He's smart. He's aggressive when he needs to be. And Joey Votto, by the way, the fact that a guy that was that close to winning an MVP is looking for ways to improve his game, that impresses me. That just tells you about the drive that he has, the fact that he just wants to get better and better. But that is a small thing, but can just earn big dividends if you run the bases well. It's amazing how many games that are won and lost on the base paths.
Say it all the time, but the little things in base running often overlooked, but going first to third on base hits to right, those kind of things.
Look at the end of the year. Look how many games are won or lost by 1 run. Well, that 1 run could have been that ball where you didn't exactly know where the right fielder was playing, and it drops in front of him and you stopped at second as opposed to going to third. Like, those things add up at the end of the year. Look at the last couple of years for the Cardinals, because it was up until the last day 2 years ago and the last couple of games last year that they found themselves on the outside looking in. Like, those little things matter so much.
And it was not a good base running team. Cost him some games.
It's been a focal point this year, as was the defense, and it's still early on this season, but I think it's going to continue to get better and better for this Cardinal team, and it has to get better and better.
Here's a 2-1 pitch, and it's 2-2. Barnard struck out his first time up. The 2-2 pitch. Lifts it in the air out to deep right field. Bader back near the wall, just enough room. He makes the catch, and the Cardinals have the top of the lineup coming up when we come back. By the authority of the Cardinals, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Great to have Brad Thompson with us. He'll be with us throughout the season, pre-post, some of the games here doing the analyst work. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and Jim Hayes here as well. Dylan Floro is the new pitcher. So Chevy Cole to the pen, 3 innings in 2 games and a 0 ERA. So that's it for Finnegan.
Probably a little bit earlier than Jim Riggleman wanted to go to the bullpen in his first game as manager of the Cincinnati Reds, but it was pretty obvious early on that Finnegan was struggling with control and just didn't quite have it.
He walked 4, one of those intentional, and here's Tommy Pham with a fly ball into right center. Jim Riggleman is a outstanding baseball man. I mentioned in the pregame show, this is his 45th year in pro ball. 18 of those years spent in some capacity with the St. Louis Cardinals. So many of us know him quite well. Good guy, good baseball man. But let's face it, reality is this is going to be a tough spot to be in.
It certainly is. When you're in this spot as a manager, and Jim Riggleman is well suited for this, what you need to do, you have a lot of young players. I mean, they have had so many players over the last 3 years making their major league debut. You have to, as an organization, you want to see the arrow pointing in the right direction, right? Maybe it's not just about the wins and losses for Jim Riggleman and the Reds right now, but are your young players getting better? Are you seeing a progression out of these guys? And that's what he can do right now, taking over.
There's a 1-0 to Carpenter. I would think if your ownership and front office, you want to see clearly an uptick in not only the wins, they only have 3 wins this year, but just in general style of play. You know, a different philosophy, different voice, doing little things the proper way. And that's something that Jim Riggleman can bring to the Reds, is that he is a great teacher of the game. Many of those years in the minor leagues where you're teaching young kids.
Yeah, he certainly can bring that. The problem is a lot of the things start with your starting pitching, right? They set the tempo day in and day out, and unfortunately for now Jim Riggleman and the Reds, the starting pitching has been an issue for them. They've got a lot of good arms. They've got good ones that are on the DL. That's where Finnegan started this year. But they have had some problems over the last couple of years just getting deep into games and giving themselves a chance.
It was only a few years ago you had Mike Leake, who was an innings eater, Johnny Cueto, Aroldis Chapman, Jay Bruce, Zach Cozart, Todd Frazier. I mean, they had a nucleus of good players
on top of stuff. So yeah, they had a lot of things going for them, and teams go through this, and we've been so fortunate here in St. Louis that we haven't had this rebuilding phase. But the Reds are in the middle of it. I mean, they are trying to rebuild, and I think, unfortunately, for the game of baseball, there's about a third of the teams that are trying to do this. And guess what, Dan? It's not going to work for everybody. Like, there's no way that everybody can try to rebuild at the same time, trying to draft high at the same time, trying to go after the same couple of free agents here and there. It's going to be tough sledding for a few teams.
Here's Jose Martinez. Jose tonight is 2 for 2, runs scored, RBI. Reds relievers against the Cardinals, a 6 ERA, a lot of walks, 3 home runs allowed. The Cardinals come in with 25 home runs as a team, and that's second to Colorado, just 2 behind the Rockies. Rockies have played 2 more games in the National League. He just keeps on hitting, base hit into center on an 0-2 pitch. 3 for 3 tonight. That's 11 for 19. Jose Martinez against the Reds this year.
You think Jose Martinez enjoys what he's doing? I think he does. I think he has a lot of fun every single day. And 0-2 mistake right there catches way too much of the plate. And once again, Martinez doesn't try to do too much. Find the barrel. It gets the barrel to the ball, gets a nice base hit up the middle, and gets things moving for the Cardinals.
I noticed something he started to do at the end of last year. Right before the first pitch, he takes a baseball and throws it into the upper deck. So if you're coming to the ballpark, you're on the first base side, right field line. Get Jose's attention. He'll probably get you a souvenir. He throws it into the upper deck.
Like the fourth one? All the way up?
No, not all the way.
I didn't mean to do math for you.
Well, I know that, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess the third deck.
Okay,
but
it's
you
still,
know what
still
I mean.
quite impressive. It's a souvenir.
It's a
either
souvenir.
way.
Now, where's Horton? If you're going to count, you know,
well, I was just going to say. I mean, if he's going to throw it darn near out of the stadium, I might want to put him in a position where we can use his premium arm.
He lets it fly, so pay attention. The 1-1 tied him up just a bit. Flipped to second, and a force play. Cardinals strand a runner. Their 6th of the night. We head to the 5th, and it's 4-1. Cardinals.com/promotions. Come on down to the ballpark. Presented by AAA Insurance. The Dexter Fowler bobblehead. Carlos Martinez and Homer Bailey tomorrow. Good matchup. And we'll come your way if you're not down here at the ballpark at 12:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. So Michael Wacha pitching into the 5th. Michael is yet to reach the 6th inning in his 3 starts. Last year pitched into the 6th in 20 of his 30 starts.
I think the big number they could talk about there is the 30. The 30 starts that he was able to get last year. We know the issues that he had with the shoulder. He figured out how to get that thing strong. The Cardinals did a great job of making sure they built in extra rest for him here and there. They had him ready to go, but it was all about him, the work that he put in to be able to make those 30 starts and build off of that coming into this year. Because this year, Michael Wacha, you look to him to eat innings for you, to be one of those guys.
And a strikeout to start inning number 5. Blandino is 1 for 19.
You see Michael Wacha right here, just the bottom of the zone. Not going to get much better than that, even if Blandino does put a swing on that. I don't know what you can do with it. But when you're 1 for 19, it feels like everything's going against you. That pitch isn't going to help.
There's Dylan Floro. And then Billy Hamilton. Again, want to make sure that fans know it's for kids ages 7 to 13. The Cardinals Kids Clinics presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. It's boys and girls. And a chance to learn from some Cardinal greats and current players, but boys and girls. Always have to include the girls. They love the game of baseball. A lot of daughters are here with their fathers and learning to keep score here at the ballpark. Learning about the game. It's not just father to son. It's father to daughter, mom to daughter. Generation after generation here in one of the great baseball towns in America. Michael Wacha is one strikeout shy of 600. There's that little cutie checking out baseball tonight as Billy Hamilton takes a pitch in the dirt. Hamilton with a base hit to left first time up, then came around to score.
That seems to be the story a lot of times when Billy Hamilton finds himself on base. He figures out a way to get in.
But just getting on base.
It's been a problem. It has. He's a guy that in a perfect world, I mean, he's leading off for you. He's getting on all the time. He puts the ball in play and just let his speed take over. But strike zone recognition has been an issue for Billy Hamilton. He'll chase quite a bit, and he just hasn't been able to figure out at a consistent level how to keep getting on. But I'll tell you this. If Billy Hamilton is like out there and he's a guy that you could put on your team, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Back to Wacha and a 1-2-3. Top of 5. The first 1-2-3 inning by either side tonight. Coming up, Yadier Molina. He already has a double and is driven in 2. Yadi coming up here at Busch Stadium. Of the 5th. 1 for 2 on the night with the RBI double. That's out of play. Big happy 13th birthday to Timmy Walshauser. Watching tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. The great young soccer players in the area. Happy birthday to Timmy Walshauser. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Second inning of work for Dylan Floro. Low, 2-1.
Couple of good pitches right there by Dylan Floro, bottom of the zone on the corners, but tough to get that after you've seen Finnegan all around the zone and you've got Yadier Molina at the plate. Probably not going to get those calls.
I say it all the time. He's your former teammate. What amazes me about Molina is that he's in the lineup every day. I mean,
that position.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the hits and the RBI and everything's starting to move up the charts, all the innings caught, the years behind the plate. But the consistency to be there night in and night out. There's a strikeout of Molina.
And you don't do it without the drive and the want to. And that's the biggest thing with Yadi. He wants to be in there so much. He wants to catch every game. I mean, Mike has a tough time anytime he's trying to give him a day off to say, hey, Yadi, relax for a minute. Take this day game after a night game or whatever it is. And you got to respect that. There's a reason that he's as great as he is. Yes, he's got plenty of ability, but the drive that Yadi has to be in there, the work ethic that it takes to be behind the plate for as many games as he is, it's special.
He's 9 games away from tying Johnny Bench. Going to be 16th all time. He's already passed Bench in innings caught. Did that last weekend, ironically, in Cincinnati. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Yadi always, with a major league debut too, will meet the pitcher coming off the mound, going into the dugout, kind of put his arm around him, you know, give him some words of encouragement. I'm sure he did that for you. I don't know if you remember
it was
anything
a bit
about
of a
that
haze.
night.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You don't remember much, do you?
I don't remember a ton about the major league debut, and at that point Yadi might have been out of the game by the time I was in there. Who knows? But he does do such a good job, and that was one of the things coming in this year that I thought of it as soon as we heard the new rules about mound visits, because Yadi is so good with he's great with a veteran pitcher, but just all the young guys being able to slow the game down for you in the middle of an inning. Maybe things start speeding up and he could go out and tell you the right thing. That's one of the things that I was the most impressed and still am with Yadier Molina, is he knows how to motivate each and every guy. There are some guys that you have to jump on. There are other guys that you have to give a pat on the behind and tell them they're going to be okay. Like, Yadi is just so good at reading people and knowing his teammates. That's a special characteristic to have.
Now Harrison Bader with a runner at first and 1 out. Home half of the 5th. Bader has walked and singled an infield hit, then stole his 3rd base of the year. For those of you that have just joined us, he's in right field tonight. Dexter Fowler on the bench. Cardinals back to a 5-man bench. That's ripped foul. This is just foul off the bat of Bader.
Bader pulls those hands inside really well, gets the barrel to it, and just misses an easy double down the line.
Oh, 0-2 the count. Short lead at first by Jed Jerko. Sticks the bat out in a foul ball. So the previous pitch pulls the hands in. That one goes the other way just to spoil it. I was talking with Willie McGee in spring training. He is really high on Bader. He thinks he's going to be a very good everyday outfielder. There's Willie.
They were singing his praises last year, just talking about the way that the ball came off his bat, and you just see him. There are some guys on the field, whether it's even on the backfields in a minor league game or if it's in a big league game, there are some guys that you just notice. You just see them because of the way they're going about their business, and Harrison Bader is one of those guys. Willie McGee was one of those guys as well. You just noticed him out there doing his thing. Loudest ovation on opening day, was it Willie?
I'd give it to Willie.
Had to be.
Inside on Bader. Bader has seen 17 pitches tonight. Up and in again. I think if we saw him get 400 to 500 at bats you'd see him get hit by a lot of pitches. Dives over the plate a little bit. It's part of his game.
I think if you gave him that many at-bats, you'd see a lot of home runs as well. He has got a lot of power in that nice compact swing.
It's it back to Floro. Out at second and out at first. And the Cardinals will take a look at this. Boy, to the naked eye, I thought he was safe.
No doubt about that one. One thing you know you're going to get out of Harrison Bader every single time is his max effort over there to first base. He needed every inch of it, but he beat that one out.
This should not take very long.
I think this replay system has gotten better. They've cut the time down a little bit, but there should be a way on a fairly obvious one to streamline the entire process.
I would agree. And they did there. Tried to explain this as much as I could last year, but going to the facility in New York that has it, you do have a couple of umpiring crews that are there, but they're looking at all different games. So if the timing isn't right, even though this is obvious that he's safe, they may be looking at 3 or 4 other plays in another game, and that's why it can take, you know, a little bit of a hiccup getting to what seems to be an easy call.
I guess the bigger question is, how do you fix that problem? I mean, does Major League Baseball put somebody in every stadium? Is it worth it? Does that pop up enough? I don't get paid the big bucks to make that decision.
By the way, Bader is grounded into just 1 double play, 24 opportunities to further accentuate the point of his speed. I would think he wouldn't run here because you're not going to pinch hit for Michael Wacha. And if you did run and he's safe, you walk DeYoung. And a high fly ball lifted out to deep right field. It is a ground rule double for Paul DeYoung, carried all the way to the track. Winker was playing fairly shallow in right. And the Reds catch a break by that staying a ground rule double and not staying in the ballpark.
Well, Paul DeYoung gets himself one up, out, over 86-mile-an-hour breaking ball and just drives this thing the other way. We saw Yadier Molina drive one opposite field for a ground rule double as well, and he stays on this well. Harrison Bader is scoring very easily if this thing doesn't bounce out of the ballpark. But the Reds here, Floro, catch a little break. Got to make it hurt, though.
Here's Michael Wacha with runners at second and third. Puts it in play, slowly hit to second, gloved by Jeanette, underhands to Votto, and the Cardinals strand 2. They have left 8 on this far. Weekday baseball game number 2 tomorrow. And we'll come your way at 12:30. Homer Bailey will go for the Cincinnati Reds. Game 2 on Fox Sports Midwest. The Budweiser What's on Tap. Brad Thompson, what have you seen out of Michael Wacha here tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, Michael Wacha has done a very good job of just executing pitches. He's got some ground balls when he's needed them. Here's one here, a nice little 4-6-3. But he's also got the punch out, a well-executed fastball in the inner half. We know his changeup is good, but he's got the heat dialed up today. He's executing. He's executing pitches on both sides of the plate. He's down in the zone, and he's got it all working on today.
So he's pitching into the 6th, something that he has not done this year. Only 4 hits allowed in 5 innings of work. We mentioned at the start of the telecast that with extra days between starts, usually he's very good. Sometimes, as you know, Brad, pitchers, creatures of habit, they can get out of sync. That doesn't seem to be the case necessarily in Michael Wacha's career.
No, it doesn't. And yes, it is easy to get a little rusty when you have some time off like that. But it's also a good opportunity to kind of polish some things up and to work on some things. And you know, Dan, you don't get too much rest in a big league season. So if you do have an opportunity early on to maybe get a couple more days, well, you take advantage of it. And Michael Wacha has done a good job in his career of being ready, even if it is 6-7 days after or in between starts.
So Jesse Winker, the top of the lineup now for the Reds. Cardinals have a 4-1 lead. Could be a bigger lead if not for a couple of ground rule doubles that have gone against the Cardinals and cost them a couple of runs.
Yadier Molina had the one early on, and then you just see Paul DeYoung's, and the feel of this ball game, the feel is like the Cardinals are up by like 6 or 7. You see, I mean, it's a couple of bloop and a blast, and you never know you're back in this thing.
Here's a 1-0. Sharply hit to first. Martinez to the bag for the out. Full day of baseball tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest and FS1. Cardinals continue their series with the Reds here on Fox Sports Midwest. Coverage starts at 12:30. FS1 has the Indians and Orioles at 3. Both games streaming on Fox Sports Go. Indians were in Puerto Rico to face the Twins this past week. Michael Wacha has retired 7 in a row.
Francisco Lindor hitting that home run in the first game down there was a pretty cool moment. I mean, that's what baseball is all about. The passion the fans were showing out there was something special.
DeYoung puts away Jose Barraza. Lindor, a native of Puerto Rico. That's 4 pitches and 2 outs for Michael Wacha. And it brings in Joey Votto, a native of Canada. 1,603 hits in his big league career, and a 5-pitch inning for Michael Wacha. A special theme ticket. Receive an exclusive St. Louis Cardinals soccer jersey. Get your soccer night tickets at cardinals.com/theme. Top of the lineup and Tommy Pham. Third inning of work for Dylan Floro. And he's in relief of Brandon Finnegan. When leading off an inning, Tommy Pham's on base percentage .675.
That's really good. That's pretty impressive right there. Tommy Pham has put up some crazy numbers in the last year plus. It's fun to watch him go about his business.
Good pitch. Tied him up, and the strikeout. Pham had been on base twice tonight. Now 1 for 3 with a walk and 2 runs scored.
Well, Floro just does a good job of just riding that in. You know, it can be dangerous if you miss middle in to Tommy Pham. You got to make sure that you get that ball in there off the plate to get him to swing, and he did so, tied him up really well.
Now Matt Carpenter 0 for 3. Fly to left, twice is grounded out to first. And it's hit out of play. Here's the 0-1 pitch. This date in 1968, the first of 13 shutouts, 28 complete games for Bob Gibson.
I'm sorry, how many?
28 that year, 1968.
It's a good year.
22-9.
It's a good career.
That's a base hit. The reality is, if you had 28 complete games in your major league career now, you're right. That's not bad at all. The way the game's played
Really
today.
good.
He did it in 1 year. Brings in Jose Martinez. Base hit to right. Also picked up an RBI double. And then on an 0-2 pitch, this base hit. 3 for 3. Don't forget the mind-numbing 1.12 ERA for Bob Gibson in 1968. Had the chance to be with Bob for about an hour and a half today. Just had a chance to catch up and visit with him.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
No big deal. That was that missed call I had earlier today, huh? Hey,
Well,
Brad, you want to have brunch with Bob Gibson? That was it, huh?
No, you weren't invited.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that's going to happen in the future either.
Fair enough. At least you're honest. You know, that's I think that's a good way to start a partnership and a relationship, is just honesty.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting it on the table, Dan.
Well, now you know where you stand.
Okay.
2-0 the count on Jose Martinez.
You hang out with anybody else fun today that I won't get to meet?
There's a lot of things I could say, but I'm not, because I don't want to get in trouble.
I appreciate that.
Talked an awful lot, though, about 1968. He's at the ballpark tonight. I said, do you think 1.12 would ever be matched? And he does not think so. Good play there to get the lead man and the out. That's Carpenter. The active leaders in complete games. Again, 28 in one season for Bob Gibson. CC Sabathia has been around forever, along with Bartolo Colon. And then Felix Hernandez, Kershaw, 2 players tied at 23. One of the more amazing statistics when you talk about Bob Gibson. He had 251 wins, 255 complete games.
It's easy to say to have the built-in, oh, the game has changed. No, he changed the game. He was so special in what he did. And how would you like to be the manager that goes out there and tries to take the ball away from Bob Gibson? How'd you like to do that? No. I'll just go get him, Gib. Whatever.
Too intimidating.
Probably still is.
He is. Bob is now 82 years young. The great Red Schoendienst had that duty of trying to take the ball away from Bob. Good luck, Red.
Good luck. I mean, do you say please, or I don't even know how to go about that.
We're celebrating 1968, the 50-year anniversary of that great year. Remember, the pitching mound reduced from 15 inches to 10 in 1969. There's a fly ball into right that will carry to Jesse Winker, and the catch is made. We head to the 7th, and it's 4-1. Michael Wacha pitching into the 7th of what has been a fun night of baseball. 4-1. Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin with you, and Jim Hayes. What have you thought of Michael Wacha?
I think he's been very efficient. One of the things that he had trouble with in his first couple of starts is falling behind. And early on in the game, we saw a little bit of that, but he's been able to execute pitches on both sides of the plates. He's getting ground balls when he wants to, and he's been able to get to his arsenal. And that was the hard thing the first couple of outings for Michael Wacha, because he didn't have that fastball command. He wasn't commanding the counts, and it's hard to get to the breaking ball. It's hard to get to the cutter, that changeup that's so great when you're in fastball counts all the time.
A 2-0 pitch to Scooter Gennett.
It's a really nice pitch right there in that fastball count that we were just talking about. Michael Wacha able to pull out that changeup and gets himself back into this count.
The 2-1 pitch, get out of play. 2017, a year ago, Gennett, his slugging percentage was .531. As he drove in 97 last season and popped 27 home runs.
And it happened quietly, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did.
That's a monster year, and it really went under the radar. I guess that happens when you lose 94 games, right? I mean, it's hard. It's the same thing we were talking about earlier.
Just
with
not getting
Joey
the attention.
Votto. Yeah, I mean, Joey Votto was one of the best players in all of baseball, yet that flies under the radar because if you're not winning, you're not going to be on the big stage as much.
And the 2-2 pitch. Little ground ball. It stays fair. Martinez steps on the bag for the out. May 5th, make your furry friend happy. Take home a special Cardinals pet jar courtesy of Purina. And the pet treat jars are available upon gate entry to 30,000 pet lovers. Ages 16 and older. The Cubs will be here. Cardinals.com/promotions. I thought Bob in our conversation today made a really interesting point. And in 1969, after the mound had been lowered 5 inches, he went 20-13. His ERA was 2.13. And a fly ball out to left. Catch made. And if you look at the board when you come to the ballpark, you see how Bob would deliver the baseball. He wasn't so much over the top like a guy like Michael Wacha. And he said, you see that delivery there, and where I'm releasing it, being 5 inches lower is not that big a deal. It's not going to change much of what I do or what hitters perceive that I'm doing. He said, but a guy like Michael Wacha, when you're over the top, 5 inches is an awful lot.
Well, it takes your plane away. But when
Right.
you're coming to that
Isn't
high
that interesting?
3/4 slot, yeah, it is for sure. And the numbers bear it out. That change that they made didn't really affect Gibby too much at all.
No.
Good for him.
Amazing man. 2 balls and no strikes here on Tucker Barnhart. Pitch count at 90 for Michael Wacha. It's sharply past Martinez and into right field.
Michael Wacha had retired 10 in a row before that base hit right there. It's all about what you do after that, right? You get that base hit, you come back out. This is just a pitch that just finds itself right over the middle. Good piece of hitting right there. Just wasn't exactly where Michael Wacha wanted to put that one.
And that's a base hit to left field. Alex Blandino. And quickly, the Reds will bring the tying run to the plate. Tyler Lyons had been up in the Cardinals pen, and he's up again. I believe this is Schebler coming to the plate. And it is. We talked about how he was just activated prior to tonight's game. Jim Riggleman indicated that more than likely in the starting lineup tomorrow, and Mike Matheny, after the announcement of Schebler, will go with a lefty-lefty matchup here in this spot. Hawkins 3 strikeouts and 92 pitches. Lyons has 5 holds, third most in baseball. Schebler 1 for 5 against the Cardinals lefty. It's our Chevy call to the pen. Schebler, by the way, a .255 hitter against left-handed pitching, and so because of that they pull him back in Devin Mesoraco. He will be the hitter.
That's a good way to come back, right? You get the juices flowing for Schebler. Say, all right, go get him tomorrow.
You've been announced, now take a seat. Welcome back. A pickoff, and it's back in safely. Your experience with Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, was that by design, or they just know with each other that one was going to be at the bag?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes and yes. Like they had so many little things just that was just between them that you would just know. You'd see a lean one way or the other, just a quick eye contact, and it's amazing how many times that duo could get you out of a jam.
Soft one, hopper, and out at the bag. The Reds, I'm sure, will take a look at this. A very casual potential third out of the inning. Boy, that is close. They don't have a challenge, and he's saying, hey, get off the field. Remember, they challenged earlier, lost, so they lose the challenge. Man, oh man. So Chevy called to the pen. This will be his 9th appearance. And the first pitch to Yadier Molina, grounded to short. That's out number 1. The batter will be Jed Jerko.
And this game has felt a little lopsided. But you look at the scoreboard. I mean, this is a 3-run ball game. 2 once again were left on the table with a couple of ground rule doubles, one by Yadier Molina and the other by Paul DeJong. This game doesn't feel tight. but you know how quickly that can change. It'd be nice for the Cardinals to be able to get another run or two and just kind of create a little more distance here between them and the Reds.
I always get concerned when you see, as crazy as it may sound, but you have a couple of ground rule doubles that go against you that cost you a couple of runs, chance to add on and maybe really pile on a team that comes into this series down, new manager, a starter that only gives you 3, and that was the case tonight with Finnegan. But baseball has a funny way sometimes of keeping teams in it, and you're right, it does feel like a lopsided game, and all of a sudden you look up, the Reds had the tying run at the plate.
Yeah, it does happen quick, and that's why you have to make sure you keep piling on. You keep continuing to give yourself a chance. You can't just give up at bats at this point in a game. You have to keep fighting.
Nissan drives of the game. Here's the ground rule double off the bat of Molina with the bases loaded. That scored 2. Then in the 5th, a ball that just kept on going. That would have allowed Bader to score, and he had to be sent back to 3rd. And it's a foul ball off the bat of Jed Jerko.
Yeah, 6-1 feels quite a bit better. That's a big cushion right there. But you know that Jed Jerko is a guy that can change the score with one swing of a bat.
And a swing and a miss on a breaking ball. A strikeout of Jerko. 2 away here in the bottom of the 7th. Plaza Tire Fox Tracks.
Just a nice breaking ball right there. Good depth, 78 miles an hour. Quackenbush set him up pretty well for that pitch and just executed a nice breaking ball in the bottom half of the zone and got Jed Jerko swinging.
Harrison Bader walked and singled. One ball and 1 strike. Jordan Hicks is up in the Cardinals pen. The 2-1, 3-1. He gets on, and that changes potentially the dynamic of the inning. With Wacha out, you'd have a pinch hitter, so if he wants to run, he could.
Got a few good options on the bench. Remember Dexter Fowler with the day off today. Tyler O'Neill was called up this week. Another great power option. I know that a lot of times Mike Matheny likes to go with the extra man in the bullpen, but it will be nice in a game like tonight to have that extra guy on his bench with a chance to impact the game.
And a swing and a miss. Quackenbush comes back to get Bader as he flips his bat. Hicks coming on. Scherzer going tonight. Tyler Lyons still in the ball game. Hicks is hot and ready to go when called upon. Billy Hamilton, the switch hitter, came in hitting 188 from this side of the plate. Then you have a lefty and Jesse Winker on deck. And quickly, no balls and 2 strikes.
That might be the thought process right there. You've got Hamilton, who is struggling from that right side. You got the lefty up after that, and then maybe in a pinch you go to the righty against Peraza. If not, you got back-to-back lefties in Votto and Scooter Gennett afterwards.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Billy Hamilton. Struck him out. That's how we start the top of the 8th. I think we need to remember too, the idea with Tyler Lyons was not only could that breaking ball neutralize left-handed batters, but the righties too.
It's a really good breaking ball. I like the fact that he can change it. There are some he'll throw the big one, especially 2 lefties. He'll throw the big one at him. He'll throw the sweeping one. He can throw it for a strike. He can throw it for chase. I love the fact that Tyler Lyons' role has just evolved over the last year plus into the just-in-case guy out in the bullpen who maybe could eat up some innings, to the guy that you want to put in a pinch to face the best lefties in the league, or if you need him for a whole inning late in the ball game like we have today. Mike Maddox and Mike Matheny feel totally comfortable putting him in.
It's a good pitch there and on the hands, and it's 0-2.
Throw that fastball in, it sets up this breaking ball so well. When you have to worry about that inner half of the plate, and then you can throw that sweeping breaking ball, it's going to be tough to hit.
There it is, and goodbye. Back-to-back strikeouts.
That is also the beauty of setting up a pitch, because this isn't exactly where Tyler Lyons wanted to throw this. It was up near the middle of the plate, but he set it up so well with that fastball in that he didn't have a chance right there. He was trying to protect the inner half and didn't know what to do with that.
So 2 outs and nobody on. Here's Peraza. Tough night at the plate. 3 plate appearances, which resulted in 5 outs for the Cardinals. Our crowd tonight, 43,303, 43303. It's Friday night back at Busch Stadium. The 1-1. 2 balls and 1 strike. A beauty. 2-2. Put in play. Will it stay fair? The ball is down, and it is a fair ball. Bader cuts it off, spins, and fires into second base. And Peraza's first base hit of the night. Little bloop double down the right field line.
Tyler Lyons goes for the breaking ball again, is trying to get in. Go back foot right here with that one. He leaves it out over and just enough. This ball's not driven to right field, but it caught enough of the plate where he's able to get the barrel on it and end up doing a little bit of damage.
Here's Joey Votto, 0 for 2 with a walk back in the 4th. Mentioned earlier, Votto with 1,603 hits, second all-time by a Canadian-born player. Still well over 500 away from Larry Walker.
Larry Walker is a Hall of Famer.
I would agree.
I mean, that's got to get going. That's got to keep trending in the right direction.
Hit sharply to second. Matt Carpenter puts it away. Nice work by Tyler Lyons out of the pen. Legendary MLB moments happen. Budweiser will be there. By the new Cholula Buttery Jack, part of the Buttery Jack family, only at Jack in the Box. And by Ford, going further so you can. A chilly night here at the ballpark, but over 43,000. It's our Chevy call to the pen. This guy's nasty. Raisel Iglesias.
This isn't exactly the role you want to have Iglesias pitching in if you're the Reds, but you've seen the record here recently. You've seen the opportunities that they've had to get him into ball games and kind of what can you do. But if you have the lead, he can definitely seal one for you.
Near the line, and Scooter Gennett, a nice play. Raisel Iglesias, signed out of Cuba, actually made his major league debut, you may recall, as a starter against the Cardinals. He's now their closer, and a good one. 28 of 30 save opportunities a season ago.
Well, he throws firm. He's got a sweeping breaking ball. He's got a good changeup that he's not afraid to throw as well. And he's just aggressive. He attacks.
Pitch just a little bit low to Greg Garcia, the pinch hitter. He had 12 pinch hit walks a year ago, second most in baseball. Red saw him pop a couple of home runs off of Finnegan last weekend. And Jordan Hicks, if you get him up, you use him. And in this spot, at least currently, a 3-run lead, and Hicks is throwing in the Cardinals' pen.
Must be nice to have for Mike Matheny. Everybody would love to have, your 7, 8, 9. You know exactly how you want to set it up. But Mike's got 3 or 4 guys down in that bullpen that he probably has full trust going on in the 9th inning.
And Hicks is just taking a seat right as we were saying that, and now Bud Norris is up.
That's one of those 3 or 4 guys that I was talking about right there in
Options.
Bud Norris. Yes, got plenty of options. And Bud Norris, man, I don't know what most people expected when the signing happened, but I would doubt that most expectations were, yeah, he's going to be your lockdown 9th inning guy and strike out the world. But Bud Norris has been incredible early on this season.
It's been a eye-popping number of strikeouts. The 3-2 pitch to Greg Garcia, and now he draws the walk.
There were a number of years where there wasn't much nice to say about Bud Norris because Bud Norris just gave it to the Cardinals time in and time out. It's nice to be on the other end of that.
Yeah, if you're a Cardinal fan, you saw him on the schedule, you're like, uh-oh.
Here we go again.
Yeah. He's got that really good slider. He's still throwing hard. Got the experience out of the pen in closing games last year with the Angels. Tommy Pham has been on base twice. And the 1-0 pitch. You can see where Iglesias, way he kind of slings the ball, would be very, very tough on right-handed batters. The 2-0. And there's a strike, 2-1.
Velocity is great. Location is incredibly important, but if you can add in deception, that is the perfect trio right there. And Iglesias has all of that. And as you mentioned, he was a starter. I think this is a great fit for him at the back end of the bullpen with those 3 pitches he has. The question is, how many save opportunities is Iglesias going to get this year? I mean, this team is struggling a little bit right now, but wherever they put Iglesias in, whatever his role is, he's going to have some success. His stuff is good.
I'm sure that's why Jim Riggleman is saying we've got 3 wins. Got to get him in the game.
Keep it close, right?
It's a tight game. You have to do it. Inside, and that's back-to-back walks. Cardinals have received 7 walks tonight, and one of those intentional. Now, because he drops down, tough on the righties, but the lefties may get a little better look. The sidewinding delivery of Raisel Iglesias.
That's where having the 3 pitches that he feels comfortable using comes into play. So you don't always get the good look. He does have the changeup that he's not afraid to throw. The slider breaking in, but absolutely true. That 3/4 right-handed look, the lefty just gets a longer time to see it out of his hand.
And Carpenter takes a ball low. Hit a base hit to center back in the 6th inning. 1 for 4 on the night. The Reds will have Jeanette, Duvall, and Barnhart coming up in the top of the 9th. Two balls and no strikes, and now Tucker Barnhart out to visit. I'm sure that's one of the issues too, is that you have a lack of opportunities, which means a lack of work. Tough to stay sharp.
Yeah, it's hard, and especially if you're Iglesias, and you saw the numbers. He converted 28 of 30 save opportunities last year. You know this, Dan. You've seen it over the years. There are some guys that if they're not pitching in those situations, you don't get the same stuff out of them. It's the adrenaline that comes with the job in those late inning games, and especially as a closer when you have the lead, that it's hard to duplicate when you're out there in any other game.
That's a good point. He's had 11 balls, 4 strikes here in the bottom of the 8th. You know, some guys, it just seems like, you know, say it's a blowout game, closer mentally shuts it down. All of a sudden, the opposition picks up 5 save opportunity. Uh-oh, got to crank it back up.
Yep.
There's a strike, 2-1.
The one thing that a closer hates to hear is, let's get some work in. Why don't you go get some work in? Because the days that you quote unquote go get work in, which means you're pitching in a game that's not a save situation, that's the game that you give up 4.
Right.
It's just a different animal.
ERA shoots up.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe I'll get my work on the side next time.
Exactly. 2-1 pitch hit to the right side, bobbled by Votto. Iglesias never touched the bag. Things unraveling a little bit for this right-hander.
Well, Raisel Iglesias busts over there, does a good job of getting to the bag, but didn't quite find it. Looks like he was out there, probably.
He's out. Remember, the Reds out of challenges. And what can happen in this particular situation is that Jim Riggleman can go out there and say, look, we're out of challenges, but wink, wink, you ought to really take a hard look at this. And it becomes the quote-unquote umpire challenge.
And here we are seeing the umpire
review, I should say.
Review. And look, they're probably going to come up with a different call on this one. Like I said, Iglesias did a good job of busting over there. Took a second to find the bag, but it does appear that he was able to beat Matt Carpenter here.
Yeah, initially I didn't think he even touched the bag. Clearly he did. He should be out. Yeah, and that's the right call. That's one of those things where a manager can save the bacon of the umpire and say, look, we've got this, okay? He's out. You might want to take a little look at it.
It's a difficult one, though, because why do we have the rules involved? You know what I mean? With the challenges in general, if we're going to wink, look at stuff.
Yeah.
But no, there are some things that and that's where I don't like the challenge rules where you get them taken away. If our objective is to get it right, then get it right.
Then get it right. Here's Jose Martinez, runners at second and third. And a 4-1 score. Jose, ho hum, no big deal. 3 for 4 tonight. Fastball and a strike at 95. And I think the umpires agree with you, and they say, you know what, we need to get this right. Could be a crucial call in the game. Instead of having bases loaded, 1 out and this guy up, now you got 2. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. His only 4-hit game of his career was against the Reds last weekend. He's trying to match that here. The 0-2 pitch to Jose Martinez. Taken low. Reminder, we're on the air tomorrow 12:30 with the pregame show. Carlos Martinez and Homer Bailey.
Iglesias has thrown him 3 straight fastballs. I wonder if he's going to try the breaking ball away here and see if Jose can stay with it and drive a ball the other way.
When you get Greg Holland up, I'm sure the idea is non-save situation. Holland comes in. If it stays like this, it's Bud Norris.
And I kind of like that idea as opposed to that being Jordan Hicks, not because I want to see Holland instead of Hicks, but the up and down, the getting Jordan Hicks ready quickly in a situation like this. Got to remember with Jordan Hicks, as special as his stuff is and as great as he's been out of the bullpen, the guy has been a starter throughout his minor league career, so that's different. The jumping up, getting ready fast, getting ready multiple times in a game, you just want to stay away from those as many times as you can. Now there are going to be events where you're going to need to go to him. You're going to get him up a couple of times and you're going to need to get him in the game, but if you don't have to, it's nice to be able to avoid it.
Every pitch by every guy out there is charted. Even the warm-ups. Martinez strikes out. So Iglesias strands 2, and Bud Norris is coming on when we come back. All right, guys, looking forward to the post-game show. 4-1 our score here in the top of the ninth. And Bud Norris is in. Brad Boxberger, Felipe Vasquez just changed his name. He was Felipe Rivero, and then Bud Norris, our Chevy call to the pen to save opportunities. And that trio perfect so far. Bud Norris 17 strikeouts, ranked tied for 5th among National League relievers, as Greg Garcia stays in the game at second base. And the first pitch taken low and outside by Jeanette. We're underway. He's 2 for 4 against Norris. So look at his Hyundai pitch arsenal.
You see that fastball. The thing that just jumps to me is the velocity. You're not really used to, as a starter, you didn't see 95, 96 out of Bud Norris, but he's able to unleash it out of the bullpen. Had 19 saves with the Angels last year, but that slider is still there. That wipeout slider off of 95, 96 miles an hour. It's devastating. And the cutter that he throws that 30-something% of the time, he's got a great arsenal, and he just attacks with it.
1 ball and 1 strike. Two and 1. Cardinals trying to go to 11-8 and send the Reds to their 16th loss. 3-15, the worst record in baseball currently. There's that slider, almost hit him, and he still offered at it. That should give you an idea of the movement.
I think it should. That thing starts in the middle of the plate and just is biting towards him. Can't hold up. It's a nasty pitch right there by Bud Norris. And now if you're Scooter, you don't know what's coming. Is that going to happen again, or is he going to dot a fastball in the outer half?
Here's a 2-2. It's a slider again. The previous pitch, you know, it may have hit the back foot, but if he swings at it, it's a strike.
Sorry about it. That's just adding insult to injury is what that is.
Three and 2 the count. Jeanette 1 for 3 with his base hit to center back in the second inning. The 3-2 and a leadoff walk. It brings in Duvall. 3 flyouts tonight. Good numbers against Norris. Outfield is deep. They are straight away. Did he go? He did. That's strike 1. Chris Guccione, the first base umpire. This is where Norris has been exceptional with runners on base. Good slider. The opposition 2 for 19 against Bud Norris with runners on.
You can see why. You look at this at bat so far. You tie him up with a fastball on the inner half, just boring in on him, and then you throw that cutter on the outer half. That is a pretty wide margin as a hitter that you have to account for, and now you've got him set up for whatever you want to do.
There's the 0-2. Fastball. Ooh, doesn't get the call. Here's a 1-2. 2-2 the count. Cardinals are trying to make this 9 straight wins dating back to last year against the Reds. Should be the longest winning streak against Cincinnati. The Mets did it at the tail end of 2014 into 16.
I don't care how bad a team is playing, what's going on. To beat a team 8 times in a row already, and hopefully 9, it's very hard to do.
Very tough. 4-game sweep on the road. The 2-2 pitch. Well, he does not want to walk him here and bring up that tying run to the plate. No doubt about that. The last 3 outings for Norris, 24 pitches, 22, then 21, and he's up to 12 and is yet to record an out. Here's a 3-2 pitch to Duvall. In the air down the right field line. Out of play. Well, you'd love to see him go with a slider if he could, if he's locating it, but it's been hit and miss so far.
Yeah, for sure. And you like you said, you don't want to walk the guy. You don't want to end up putting that tying run up at the plate. But you also have to execute a pitch. I think if Bud Norris sticks with the fastball here, if he's able to locate at the bottom half of the zone, he's going to be fine.
Here's a 3-2. It on his hands, may have chased a ball. Norris is set with another 3-2 pitch. And a fly ball. Shallow left center. It drops in front of Pham, and the tying run comes to the plate. Got it off the end of the bat, and it drops in.
Just a little cutter right there. Good pitch. Just doesn't hang up long enough for Tommy Pham to get under it. After fouling off a couple of fastballs here, he goes with this cutter. Like I said, not a great piece, but Tommy Pham just couldn't get to it.
I'm not sure Tommy read that all that well off the bat.
Well, it didn't look like, maybe had to break back on it and then ended up coming in.
And with that, here's Tucker Barnhart, who has 2 home runs this year. Singled to right back in the 7th inning. And strike 1. Jordan Hicks is back up and throwing. The 0-1. 0-2. Marty Mason, longtime bullpen coach. As you get a look at Hicks, they would chart everything you guys did.
Yeah, you have to. It's and especially for a young guy like Hicks, you need to know what he's throwing, how many times a guy is up and down, because I know they don't count as innings, but it's reps. And Brian Eversgerd is doing the same thing down in that bullpen, is making sure he's writing down and he knows exactly what he's doing. But when you've got a weapon like that out there in Hicks and you get yourself in a tough spot, it's nice to be able to go to that.
I would think the Cardinals have to be very judicious and watching how much he throws, when he throws, the back-to-backs, all those things. It's a special arm.
Well, I try to think about myself as a manager. It would be tough to not pick up the phone and yell his name every time, right? Every day, every spot. But you do have to be smart about it because you want to make sure he's around for the long haul.
On a hop to second, out there, double play for 6-3. The Cardinals turn their third double play of the night.
Pitcher's best friend right here ties him up. Get that cutter on the hands a little bit. Nice 4-6-3. Really clean turn right there by Garcia. Much needed right there, Dan.
Absolutely. And now it's up to Blandino. He singled to left back in the 7th for his lone hit tonight. The Cardinals 1 out away from taking game 1. The first pitch kept in front by Molina. For Blandino, just his second hit this season. He's 2 for 20. The 1-0. Two and 1. Two strikes. Jim Riggleman, the interim manager. Mike Matheny and the Cardinals trying to make it 5 wins in a row over Cincinnati. Alone here in 2018. The 2-2 pitch. And again it runs full.
Nora's doing a really good job of just staying under the zone. We saw 94 and 95 fastballs at the bottom of the zone. That 92 mile an hour looked like a cutter right there. Just staying down right now. I know Blandino hasn't had the best start to his year, but anything up could change the game.
A 3-2 pitch. Base hit. Makes it 4-2. And again, the tying run comes to the plate.
Just a fastball middle of the plate. And that brings Mike Maddox in for a little conversation.
Let's turn to tonight's Budweiser play of the game. Back in the 3rd inning. Interesting that Ozuna made the throw to the cut instead of going to second, and because of that it works out for the Cardinals.
Some things just happen for a reason, and this is one of them. Jed Jerko does a great job of getting up, making the play right here, and this slowed it down. There was a little bit of a rally going early on for the Reds. That play right there took the bat out of Joey Votto's hands, and that was a good Budweiser play of the game right there.
Cliff Pennington. 4-2 the score. First pitch is strike.
You mentioned the pitch counts in Bud Norris's last couple. He's up to 26 here. He's had to work hard. This is a season high currently. 27 pitches for Bud Norris. They don't all come easy, Dan.
No, sir, and that's the case tonight. The 1-1. And again, the Reds down to their final strike. Norris would love to end it right here. 1-2 the count on Cliff Pennington. The next to him. And a liner that's caught it short. The Cardinals hold on for the win. 4-2 the final. And St. Louis takes game 1 of the weekend series. Wasn't easy, was it?
It was not, but a win's a win. And Bud Norris got the job done right there.
Brad Thompson, your first ever game in the booth. Congratulations to you. Great job.
I appreciate it. It's 1,000 winning percentage, Dan.
I like it.